everybody. Welcome to Come Back Stronger with Fasig Brooks. I'm Jimmy Fasig, and this is my law partner, Dana Brooks. And we are here with some more comeback stories to inspire you and motivate you. And Dana, we've got somebody coming on today.
Yep, we got two guests today.
In just a few minutes, and very exciting. What do you think about? It's Amy West, who's a travel blogger. What do you think about Amy?
I love her story because she was handed something, not through any fault of her own. She just had a disabled child that she had to take care of, a physically very challenging physical disability. And her message is so good and so powerful and uplifting because of what she has been able to do with what anybody else would perceive as external limitations.
Well, what I love about Amy's story is it's got some elements of every awesome comeback story, and that is this. Most people that have a great comeback story, their lives at some point have been going on, they've been going on autopilot, and then their lives get disrupted by some traumatic event, like our clients, for example. A lot of our clients get rear-ended by a semi-truck at a red light or something like that. And so their lives are disrupted, but they take that disruption as an opportunity to reevaluate their lives and reprioritize and decide what's most important.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Amy's story, because she did exactly that. So it's a very inspiring story. I can't wait for y'all to hear about it. We are going to be back right after this. We're giving you a game plan on how you can take back control of your life to not just get back to where you were before you started, but also to come back stronger. This is a tragedy in your life, it's an accident, or it's a loss that you never expected to suffer. But every tragedy carries with it the seed of an equal opportunity. And so our job is to guide our clients to take advantage of that opportunity. And that is the most fulfilling thing that I do in my job. When I give my client that settlement check at the end of the day, if they can walk out of there feeling like they are the hero of their own story and they're proud of themselves because they did what I asked them to do, they took my guidance and they ended up with seeing that light at the end of the tunnel and actually reaching that light, that's what it's all about. Welcome back, everybody. We are about to introduce you to Amy West, so here we go.
So Amy West from Amy West Travel is with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
How did you become Amy West Travel, and what's that all about?
So Amy West Travel, it's quite the story, and I will say it all started with a lot of loss, but a big dream, and I'd always wanted to travel and get paid for it. I think that's a lot of people's goal, right? What's better than traveling, but actually getting paid for it when you go. But I didn't know how to achieve that. I had a lot of great skills in my back pocket, but I didn't know how to make that leap, especially in this day and age. So after losing quite a bit, I had a best friend tell me, hey, you should just give it a go, give it a try. And it's been a decade, but here we are. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the loss that you're speaking of? What are you talking about?
So when I had my first daughter, I was 27, and we found out about 13 weeks into pregnancy that she was going to have, it's a very common birth defect called gastroschisis. It happens about 1 in 2,000 births. And what that meant is that her intestines were going to be on the outside of her body through a small hole in her abdominal wall. And of course, that came as a major shock to us as our first child, and we didn't have anything genetically in our background that would lead us to believe that we would have a problem like this. So it came as kind of like a brick wall to us, but we stayed hopeful through the pregnancy, and we delivered at 37 weeks. She was great. She had to go straight into surgery. She spent about 33 weeks in the NICU.
Wow.
And
that's hard.
Recovered. They got everything back inside. So today she looks and acts just like any normal child. But after that, there was a fallout in our personal lives. So,
is that from the medical bills and jobs, or what happened with that?
Yep. So medical bills were certainly the top of that. We had additional medical bills from her, even though we had insurance. Then there were therapies, occupational therapy, physical therapy, with all of those appointments, plus normal pediatric appointments, plus normal childhood illnesses and viruses. I had a pretty much full-time job taking her to doctor's appointments, so I was not able to return back to work as planned. And at the same time, it was in the middle of the recession, or kind of the tail end of the recession. So most people, including ourselves, were upside down on our home and just in a very poor financial position. So we ended up basically losing everything and hit some very hard times. I called it the 3 years of misery. So we came home and we had some challenges with her still when we came home, and we were just at a loss. We were struggling.
How did you survive the 3 years of misery? Like, what did you rely on to get you through that and come out the other end with a healthy marriage and a healthy family and a healthy career?
Well, I think our faith was certainly foundational. We had a great church family, and they came out of the woodwork to support us. We had a lot of positive family members that were there for us, encouraging us, cheering us along, and everyone from the people who would send us a small Target gift card to help us while we were in the NICU, or someone who brought a meal. We had a family that would bring us a meal every week, in addition to the other families that were bringing us meals. And just the people that came out of the woodwork to support us and show us that they loved us, that really helped me understand, because I was mostly an only child. I have 2 half siblings, but they came later. But it helped me understand I wasn't isolated. I wasn't alone. But there were people that could see that we were struggling. They didn't feel sorry for us. They were just there to support us and lift us up and help us. And being able to accept that helped us. It just made me stronger in understanding that we weren't alone. And I think also my husband was incredible, because a lot of families in these situations, they do either you grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah.
And he was a rock. Whereas I was falling apart emotionally and going through postpartum depression and any number of emotional challenges.
On top of everything, you had postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was there just being a support and loving me and our daughter through all of our challenges. So it really teaches you a lot. We climbed a mountain in 2008. We went and climbed Pikes Peak, and that 14,000 footer helped us understand the challenges of climbing a mountain. And I always compared the struggles that we went through to like climbing that mountain. I'm like, if we could get through that mountain, we were going to get through this mountain.
Right.
And so understanding that, there's peaks and valleys in life, and, you're going to have mountaintops, but you're also going to have valleys, but you can come out of it if you endure and if you put your mind and your heart to it. And just
I
keep
think
standing
that's
on
where,
your feet.
and I think that's where sometimes the greatest things come from the greatest losses.
Yes.
And it sounds like with you, obviously a new mom, you're not expecting to have a baby that has all these surgical needs, and you're not expecting to have all these medical bills and not be able to go back to work and lose your home and go into financial distress and all that stuff. But then you found a way to come out of that loss and to, build your brand and become successful both in life with your family and with your job, right?
Yes, and I think at first, I was really numb, because you're in shock, right? You're just riding this wave. But it took a cheerleader, it took a voice of encouragement from a friend that believed in my talent and believed in something that I had, that I believed in, but kind of lost that hope for, to give me that spark of hope to say, maybe I can do this. And even though I've lost almost everything, what else do I have to lose?
Right.
So hope is everything, I believe.
I think that's such an amazing takeaway from your story, that from the ashes came the most beautiful growth because of the encouragement of your friend and then your support system.
Yes.
So sometimes when I think about dropping a meal off, I think it's just a meal, but maybe it's that one thing that somebody needs to really pick them up.
Yeah, exactly. Just someone out of the kindness of their own heart, just paying it forward, just loving on people with no expectations. That can mean, that little simple act of kindness can mean the world to people. You just never know.
Wow.
And your story of resiliency can also change other people's lives, because I've actually talked to people in public who years later were like, oh, we watched what you were going through on Facebook and we really felt for you, but now I've gone through my own trauma and I think back like what amazing people you are, and it really just inspired me to keep going. And those are the things that I don't necessarily believe that everything happens for a reason. In this situation, I can imagine there was any possible reason why my child should have to have had that trauma when she was born. But I do think that those scenarios can be used for positive. And in this situation, if we can inspire someone, if we can have empathy for them, and in the case of it giving me the strength and the assertiveness to move forward and to build my own career path, then maybe those are the good things that came out of that dark time.
Absolutely. So what do you do now? What is the brand that you've built, and tell me a little bit about who you are now.
Well, Amy West Travel is an online brand. I am now considered a travel and lifestyle expert. I've been fortunate to speak on national news networks like Fox Business and Cheddar News, and give my opinions and my analytical feedback regarding travel. Obviously, travel's been my obsession, along with food and beverage, but the travel is always kind of the common denominator in all of that. So I have a blog. I do freelance writing. I've written for 10best.com, which is a USA Today brand. I do online influencing, and I work with brands anywhere from fashion to food, as well as travel, of course. Even our children are in on the game now, and we're on TikTok. But my latest project has been becoming an expert, or furthering my expertise on Jacksonville and writing the book 100 Things to Do Before You Die, 100 Things to Do in Jacksonville Before You Die, which is part of Reedy Press's series that they do in all different major cities.
That's so cool.
That's coming out this month. Really excited about it, and really excited to reveal all 100 gems in my hometown.
Really? God, you make me feel like such a slouch.
No.
I'm like, oh God, I gotta get going on something. That's really cool.
I have a really fun bingo card. If you buy the book from me, I'll sign it. And there's a really fun bingo card. You can like cross off the things you've done, or like put checklists on it and things that you might want to discover in our city.
You know what's so neat about you is you're such a positive and happy person. How have you maintained that throughout everything that you've been through?
I am just a very stubbornly positive person. I'm definitely, I have that attitude of gratitude. If you're coming from a place of gratitude, and you're thankful, so much more comes from that. It also gives you better perspective in your life. And I know that even in my darkest times, there's always people who are going through harder times. And so as long as you do have your family and you have a support system, you have so much. But even if you don't, you look deep inside of you, and I think it's really important that you be your biggest cheerleader. And I tell people that all the time. I think, and I don't want to sound cocky, but I think I believe in myself more than anybody else believes in me.
Good.
And it's because somewhere along the way I discovered that there is this hidden vastness of potential in all of us that we have yet to untap. And if you can be open to that, you can do almost anything. And so I'm a big fan of manifesting. I'm a big fan of drawing those things to you that you believe in. And I always tell people all the time, I'm like, just be careful what you tell me you want to do with me, because I'll make it happen. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And so I think that positivity is just my fuel to make those things happen that I dream.
That's really cool. Thank you so much for coming today. You've been really inspirational. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We'll be back in a minute.
When you come into my firm, you see a lot of faces that look like yours. You see a lot of people that had the same problem before they got to work. You know, a lot of people who left kids with mismatched shoes and a lunch bag, you screaming, just because you had an appointment you had to make. We get you. We get you.
You have to go to a lawyer that will understand your story as a woman. Because women have different stories than men do, and that's just a fact of life. And if you're a woman that's been injured, either through a slip and fall or a trip and fall in an auto accident, you have to go to a lawyer that's going to understand what your daily existence was like before, what it's like now, what the injury means to your entire family, and what you need to do to come back and be where you were before, and even come back and be stronger than where you were before. They just need to have the courage to pick up the phone, because we are going to take the burden of this accident or you being hurt off of your shoulders. We're going to put it on our shoulders. Right. So you don't have to worry about it. Exactly. You can worry about everything else in your life, but not this accident. We're going to worry about that for you.
Welcome back, everybody. We are about to meet a gentleman who is a pillar of the Jacksonville community, and you're going to get to know him before he became a pillar of the community, and when he was struggling. He was a ward of the state, and you're going to get to hear his story about how he came back, and he came back stronger. So can't wait for you to hear this.
James Cook, thank you so much for being here with us today.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
I know you're an elected official
ma'am.
in the city of Jacksonville,
Yes,
but you come from some pretty humble beginnings.
yes.
And what I'm interested to know about is your childhood and what was the beginning of your comeback story like? So tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you were raised.
Well, I did not know my mother till I was 16, and they didn't really tell me a lot. All they told me was her name and where was she from. That was it. I was raised by a single father. He worked as a dishwasher. He was mostly never home. He was mostly at work. So there were times we would be at his job, just eat and wait for him to get home. We lived in hotels, and we also lived in babysitter houses, and there was a shelter that was involved as well. We bounced around from house to house. We really never stayed in the same house for a very long time. I got older, and I really wanted to know my mother, but we still kept going. My father really got sick, and he had 2 strokes on the job. When that situation happened, we became ward of the state.
You became a ward of the state?
Yes, me and my brother became ward of the state. I became ward of the state at 14.
Oh.
He was 13 at the time. With that situation, after he had his strokes on the job, we were unable to stay with him. So the city of Charlotte, North Carolina basically became our legal guardian. And at the time, I still did not know my mother. But after 6 foster homes, 3 group homes, I was able to finally meet my mother. But the situation that got to me was knowing that when she asked me, "Are you my son?" that bugged me because I could finally look at my mother, and I still didn't know why she asked me that. But they was able to tell me what was going on with her. So after about 2 years, I was able to finally understand.
Okay. What her mental disease process was?
Yes,
And how long were you a ward of the state?
for 4 years.
Okay. And I think you said that you aged out at 18?
Yes, I aged out at 18 because I really wanted to learn, but I felt that if you kept giving me all the help, I would not appreciate it. And I really wanted to learn the value of a dollar, so I ended up leaving.
Okay, so in North Carolina, I think you can stay until you're 26 or you can age out at 18.
Yes,
So you elected to age out of the system at 18.
yes.
What happened after you aged out?
I became homeless
Oh,
because they couldn't help me anymore.
yeah. And then did you wind up getting a job while you were homeless or going to school? What was life like back then?
Well, life at that time was pretty hard, and the reason why that is I really did not have a job. I actually dropped out of school my senior year, and I did not know what else to do in my life. So there was a lady at a high school that I actually went to, and she had me to come back in. And after I dropped out, I told her everything. I actually wanted to go to San Diego to actually deliver magazines. I saw it in the magazine. And I said, I want to do that. She told me, take everything you have and come here. So I went to the high school where she was at, and basically this is how it went. The principal actually let me back into school because all I had was 2 credits left. The assistant principal actually paid for my hotel during the Christmas break. After the Christmas break, there was a church that the high school secretary, because that's what she was at the time, she knew about them, and they all just chipped in. So every week they was paying my hotel room, and they would wash my clothes. They would give me money. They would give me gift cards to eat.
She really rescued you.
Yes.
And what did you do with your life after high school? Did you wind up going to college?
I came to Everwater's College after high school,
Wow, all by yourself.
all by myself.
And then I understand you received an advanced degree after college?
Yes, after college, after my bachelor's degree, I went to get a master's degree.
How did you find, what did you find within yourself to say, I might be homeless, but I'm going to get an education, and I'm going to get an advanced degree, and I'm going to make something of myself? What did you tell yourself, or what did you find within your soul to get there?
I was on a mission to pay back everybody that helped me.
That's amazing. That's just awesome. Do you feel like you've done that?
I feel like I have more to do,
Yeah.
but
And-
so far I'm really doing a great job.
Yeah.
But I know there's more because they did so much. They did not really have to do anything for me. But just for them to say, hey, we're going to help you to get to where you need to be, I really do owe a whole big debt to them.
That's real love, isn't it?
Yes.
And I understand you ran for office.
Yes, I did.
What office did you run for?
The Duval County Soil and Water Conservation District Board.
And you won.
Yes.
And I think you said your brother was astounded at how many people voted for you.
Yes.
How many was it?
It was over 183,000 people.
Gosh, that's awesome. What do you do for the board?
Wow. It's a whole lot, but basically I can put it in a nutshell. All it basically is just you're a supervisor to go out to tell residents, you could tell Fortune 500 companies, small business, a way to save our environment, your natural resources. That's basically it.
And you also serve in another government position, right?
Yes, for the Keep Jacksonville Beautiful board here.
What do you do for that?
Well, it's almost the same, but what we're doing now is going out to clean up the environment, clean up our communities, pick up trash, and that's basically your...
So those are two voluntary positions that you're doing to give back to a community that you feel like gave you so much.
Yes.
That's incredibly generous and just amazing that you're doing that.
Thank you.
So what do you do for work? Because I know those positions aren't paid.
No, in the morning, I am a security officer,
Okay.
and at night, I'm the other two.
Wow, that's just incredible. What's your goal? What do you want to do?
One of my aspirations is to actually become a math teacher.
And that's just incredible. I think your comeback story is probably one of the most interesting ones that I've heard. Not many people make it out of homelessness. Not many people make it out of being a ward of the state. And not only have you done that, but you've been successful in your education and your career, and now you're giving back to your community. And I think that makes you a remarkable person.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and giving us your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. When we come back, we're going to talk about the takeaways from this amazing story, or both of these amazing stories.
Their life has been changed, and this is for real. And so many times it could be a very intimate part of a man's life. You know, something that they don't even want anyone to know they're experiencing, much less do they want to share how it's affecting them. It even feels worse when you don't stand up for yourself. Because you know you can't stand up for yourself among these lawyers and these insurance companies because it's not your area. You don't know. So a lot of times, instead of seeking help, especially maybe from a woman, they just take it, and then that eats on you. You know, people don't lead with their weaknesses, but that doesn't mean they don't exist, and it doesn't mean they don't deserve fair compensation for them whenever those weaknesses and those injuries are caused by somebody else just not paying attention and being careless. That is not your responsibility, it is the careless person's responsibility. And making that person honor their word and honor their commitment to you, that's not weakness at all. That is strength. That is doing the right thing for yourself and for your family, so you can walk with a straight back and your kids can look up to you and say, that's my daddy, he takes care of us.
Welcome back, everybody. Dana, we just heard a couple of really awesome stories.
Yeah.
What were some of the takeaways that you got from them?
Oh, well, with Amy, I love that she found a way to get paid doing something she was extremely passionate about.
Yes.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
You know, who gets to get paid doing something that they just would do for a hobby and that they worked so hard to have the money to do before that? So I just love that I like what she talked about manifesting. You know, she saw that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a successful person who got paid to travel, and now look at her. Now people seek her advice nationally. She loves her town. She's passionate about her town. So what'd she do? She wrote a book about it and said, hey, I want you to love the town the way I do.
Well, it's interesting to me how Amy, she knew what she wanted to do, but it took a major disruption in her life for her to be able to gather the courage and the strength to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I always try to encourage people when they're going through a challenge and they're facing obstacles, injuries, or setbacks, to try to step back and look at the big picture about, this is an opportunity for you to look at your life and say, how can I do this better? How can I do it wiser and come back stronger? The other thing that I think is really awesome about all these stories is that in every single one of them, there's always somebody who shows kindness
or
and
shows some belief in
compassion
them.
and some belief in the person that's going through the challenging time. And that it's and for example, in James's story, he used that belief in him and that kindness as a fuel for him to become his best and greatest self. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, James unfortunately had a lot of, we call them ACEs, adverse childhood events. And the more you get, the harder it is to have a good trajectory in life. You know, you end up getting early encounters with law enforcement, early encounters with the juvenile justice and then the adult justice system. So, you know, he didn't have anything stacked in his favor at all. And look how far he was able to go with just the kindness of people. And look how many people just reached out to this child who kind of just got left behind. And he just said, no, I'm worth something. Invest in me. I'm okay. And he did that, and then that was his impetus for doing so well and continuing to do so well. You know, he's doing 2 acts of public service that help people, not himself. He's not getting paid for that. That's just something he wants to do. And he's motivated to do it. What did he say? He says, I feel like I need to pay back all those people who believed in me.
I absolutely love that. And it just gave him the fuel and the passion and so I think that's one of the major takeaways, is that when you're being kind to someone, when you're showing compassion to someone who's going through a difficult time, that can change everything for that person. And not only for that person, for example, in James's case, it is not only helping him in his life, but everybody in his orbit, everybody that he knows, and he's got tentacles reaching out for the entire city of Jacksonville and probably beyond. And then now he gets to come back and tell his story on TV and to inspire and motivate more people who may have been a ward of the state, who have been homeless, who've gone through challenges. So that's one of the benefits of having gone through challenges, is that you can help bring somebody else up.
And people want to see you succeed. People love a good success story.
Absolutely.
And so when you succeed and you pay back, or you show your appreciation for the people who believed in you whenever nobody else did, you create almost like a synergy of positivity. And then it breeds more positivity and more. And the next thing you know, you take inventory of your life and your attitude, and you realize you've crowded out any kind of negativity, any kind of inner voice, any negative self-talk saying, you're not one of those people that's going to make it in the world. You're going to get left behind.
And that's when you find your real power. When you start to realize how you affect everybody else around you, and how the tiniest act that you do, the tiniest decision that you make, the tiniest thought that you allow to arise into your mind, and decision you make and action you take can change the world. So that's what this show is all about. I absolutely love it. We have enjoyed having you. We cannot wait to see you next week. Good job. I feel real.
I like that people who don't have the money to pay for lawyers, they can come to a contingency fee lawyer, someone like us who only gets paid when we recover for them, and they can go toe-to-toe with giants.
You are actually just coming to us, not paying us anything, and if we're successful in getting you money, we get paid. And the more money we get for you, the more money we get. So our interests are totally aligned.
And it's a wonderful system, because otherwise, how many people can afford to go hire a lawyer by the hour just so they can have their day in court? That would be almost no one. That would mean justice is only available in America to rich people otherwise. But the contingency fee agreement allows everybody to go in on equal footing. It levels the playing field. But to me, it's saying we're equal. Okay, just because you have all those resources behind you doesn't mean I have to take whatever you give me. I've got a lawyer that I can afford who can stand up to you on the same playing field, equal ground in front of a judge, and I will get treated the same way those big corporations will be treated.